Hello everyone, welcome to RockShire Gaming. My name is Eric. Today we're going to be doing another overview slash review of a game in my collection. This is going to be Power Rangers Here's the Grid from Renegade Game Studios. So with that, let's kind of just take a dive into what we have here on the board. I know there is a lot going on, kind of already half setting things up here. As you will notice looking at this, there's a few extra components in this that are not in the actual base game of the box. This is a overview of the base game. There's a few extra components here. First of all, there are sleeves on all of my various cards, including these ones over here. I do have those separately. It does not come with sleeves. Also, we have different colored dice representing all the 5 Rangers the game comes with. These are going to be the dice right here that the game comes with. The various colored dice are from dice packs that you can get separately. The last thing I do want to point out, and as you're going to see on here, is that some, not all, of the figures that I have on the board here are going to be painted. For example, here is this very early paint job of mine, but here is a example of me painting the Red Ranger from this set as a comparison. This is what the figures look like for. Is that not going to zoom now? Well, it's not going to focus in, but that is what the figures all look like from the game from another set. But you kind of get the idea. The Rangers themselves are going to be in a colored plastic matching their Ranger color. So Jason, the Red Ranger, as you can see in the bottom here, is going to be in that red color. Billy is going to have a blue color, so on and so forth. The monsters themselves are also going to be in more of like a grayish white plastic. The Rangers are going to be the only ones that are colored, but just so that you know, disclaimer, some of my, not all of my figures are painted, but like I said, the game does not come painted. So as far as setup goes here, you are each player up to 5 in the base game are going to pick one of the 5 Rangers that comes with the game. There are alternate rules for setting up with 2 players, 3 players, and 4 players, but the spirit of the game is usually that they want you to have 5 players representing all 5 Rangers, though I do see a lot where the game kind of plays pretty well with around 3 players. So as you set up your character, which again, I have all 5 of the main characters from the game set up, you are then going to take 2 action tokens and 1 energy token. These are yours specifically. These represents the various actions you can do in the game, and the energy tokens are going to be used when you're playing cards from your hand. You only ever have 1 energy token to yourself. Everything else goes into an energy pool over here on the other board of the game. And when you set yourself up and deal your cards out, you do have a 10 card deck, and you're going to pick up to 5 cards. You have a hand limit of 5 cards. You can choose less than 5 cards. That is mainly because of the fact that the cards in this game also represent your health. If you look down here at the bottom of the cards here in the corner, you will see a number of shields. Those are going to be used as your health indicators for when you take damage from monsters and whatnot. So, like I said, you're going to pick your Ranger, have your deck of 10 cards, and draw up to 5 cards. Now, after you've picked your Rangers, you are then going to go ahead and set up the board. In the main game, you're going to have the command center here for the center of the board. You're also going to have Ernie's Juice Bar, Angel Grove Park, Angel Grove High, and the Industrial District. Each one of these locations also has a mode on the back that will flip over here with a rule that you must follow during the game. Angel Grove High has each Ranger in this location has their maximum hand size reduced by 2. Excess cards are immediately discarded. So there's other effects if you want a harder game on the back of the locations, and any expansions you buy that include locations are also going to have those effects. The center square here, the center circle here, is also going to have no special rule written on it, but there is like an assault mode in the game where the command center can actually become a location where monsters can attack. So that is what is on the back there, and that's what that indicates on the back. Once you've laid out your command center or whatever headquarters tile you're going to be using, if you do have expansion content, and have your 4 locations down, you're going to place 3 energy tokens in the 5-player game in the center circle, and then place your rangers here. That is where the 5 of you, or however many people you're playing with, are going to start for this game. The next thing you're going to do is set up your power board. You have 6 spots up here. Every time you defeat a enemy soldier, you're going to put your their token on these spots. Every time you fill up all 6, you're going to move the power level up 1. When you move the power level up 1, you're going to draw a Zord card. To set up the deck for the Zord cards, you're going to shuffle them first and then take the Megazord that you're going to be using, place it at the bottom of the deck. Once you get through all the other Zords, the last card you're going to draw is the Megazord, kind of simulating how the Megazord is formed by all the other Zords on the television show. And then the final bit of setup you're going to be doing for the game is dealing with the setting up of the villain deck, the minion deck, the things you're going to be fighting throughout the game. This also does correspond with the locations. In the main game, you're going to be playing with Putty Patrollers and Super Putty Patrollers. They correspond with the locations from the core set. If you are using minions from another set, you're also going to be using different locations, and you'll find out why in just a second. The deployment deck is the first thing you're going to build. This is, in my hand, the deployment deck for the Super Putty Patrollers. This is the deployment deck for the regular Putty Patrollers. If you look on the back of their cards, they're going to have pictures of the locations that correspond to the locations that you're actually playing on the board. This is how you're going to deploy the minions in the game. So basically what you're going to do is shuffle up these cards and then create 4 piles of cards of 5 cards each. This is the part where you're also then going to pick a monster to place in these decks. You have pile A, pile B, pile C, and pile D. For this example, we're going to be using Bones and Pudgy Pig, but the game also comes with Nasty Knight and Madam Woe. You're going to take the deployment card from that particular monster, and you're going to shuffle 1 into pile B and 1 into pile C. You're also going to take the deployment card for the boss you're using. The main game, the base game, is going to use Rita Repulsa as your boss for the game. So you're going to mix her card into pile D. Once you have placed those various monster deployment cards in piles B, C, and D, you are then going to combine all 4 of those little mini decks you did into one main deployment deck. And at this point, we then move into the phases of the game, the deployment phase and the action phase. When you start the deployment phase of the game, you are then going to go into your deck and actually deploy the monsters onto the various locations. The way they do that is actually a pretty ingenious methodology that Renegade and Jonathan Ying, the designer, have come up with. So basically, your deployment deck is here. You're going to draw the first card from the deployment deck. You have a Super Putty Patroller, and you think, where am I going to place the Super Putty Patroller? Well, you actually look back at the deployment deck and look at the location that is on the, essentially the back of the card. In this case, it is Angel Grove Park. So I'm going to take one of my Super Putty Patrollers right here, and I'm going to place it in Angel Grove Park. And I'm going to do that for the next 5 cards. So I'm going to place 3 Putty Patrollers, and we're going to place them in the Industrial District. So 1, 2, 3, and we're going to place them here in the Industrial District. I do understand that during this review, I've got on the table cam, you really can't see all the monsters. That's because I didn't have enough room to put them into this view, so that's what we're doing here. So my next card, card number 3, 2 supers are also going to go into the Industrial District. 1, 2. And then I'm going to have 2 more supers going to Angel Grove Park. 1, 2. And then finally, I'm going to have 1 Putty Patroller go to where I don't know. This is a monster card. This is the monster card that was at the top of the pile in group number B. So we are also going to flip him over, and we're going to have Bones. So we're going to deploy the Super Putty Patroller and Bones all to Ernie's Juice Bar. So, and that's a regular patroller, not a super. So we're going to place this one here, and we're going to place Bones here, and I already have the token there from, there was a technical issue, sorry, I messed up, I forgot to take that off the board when I reset. But now that the monster is here on the board, this zone is panicked. If all 4 zones in the game are panicked at the same time, then the Rangers lose. The other way to panic, besides a monster showing up on the board, is to have the location's figure limit met by various minions and other things on the board. Right now, Industrial District has 5 figures on it with a figure limit of 6, and Angel Grove Park has 3 on it with a figure limit of 6. Ernie's Juice Bar, though it only has 1 patroller and Bones on it, because of the fact that the monster got deployed there, the zone is panicked. If over the course of the battle that will be going on after this, that both of these figures are removed from the location will no longer be panicked. That is the only way that you can get rid of a panic in the base game. But that is the situation that we are currently at with the current setup of figures. Next, we move on to what's called the action phase. At this point, we can now take the Rangers, we can move them to the various locations, start a battle, and if need be, recover. The Rangers perform the various actions that they have by spending the action tokens that they are given. In the 5-player version of the game, the Rangers each get 2 actions. With these actions, they can do one of 3 things. First thing they can do is move. Moving will, again, use an action token, and you will move a Ranger to any location on the board, just no matter where they are. If in the case of the Yellow Ranger being here at Angel Grove High and she wanted to go participate in the fight at Ernie Juice Bar, she doesn't need to use one location just to go here, or one action to go here, and then one action to go here. No matter where she's at, she uses the move action, she can go to any location on the board. The next action that the Rangers can do is to begin a battle. One Ranger needs to begin the battle, but all Rangers in the location can participate in said battle, and we'll get to kind of how fighting goes here in just a second. After that, the other option is recovery. The Rangers can recover or use an action to recover, where they get 6 shields worth of cards put back into from their discard pile into their deck. That will make sure that the deck, which again is basically your health, gets replenished and make sure that the Rangers do not get KO'd. If a Ranger does get KO'd, they, on their turn, will use one of the energy tokens in the command center to come back to life. If all those energy tokens are gone when the Rangers need one, Rangers lose the game. And speaking of energy tokens during the recovery phase, the Rangers do replenish the energy that they themselves get, the one energy that they have, not the energy from the pool. So let's go ahead and see how a battle runs in this game. We're going to take the Bones card and move it over there, and the Putty Patroller deployment cards that we had, and we're going to put those back on the bottom of the deck to possibly be used at a later time. Now, to show accurately how combat looks in this game, and so it's not as messy as me just placing cards here, we are going to be using this board right here. This board, again, talking about components that aren't necessarily in the base game, this board came out of, I believe, the Rise of the Psychos. It has the Nemesis mode stuff on the back here, but more importantly, it has the board that looks like this, which I'm not 100% sure what it should be used for. However, it does look exactly like how combat should run. So we're going to place, for the purposes of our little show and tell, we're going to place that board right here. Sorry, Billy's cards. This is a board example of what combat looks like. You're going to have these 2 rows here, 4 cards each. No matter how many figures are in a zone when you initiate combat in that zone, you're only ever going to deploy 4 of the enemy's cards, and which cards you deploy is going to be determined by whichever player initiated the battle in that location. The bottom row here is going to be for the minions. The top row is going to be for the 4 cards that will make up the monsters combat cards and or the boss's cards, in this case Rita. So let's go ahead and start a battle. So let's see, Jason, Trini, and Billy here are all going to move into the location with Bones. Now, the reason I am only moving those 3 and not having the other characters move is because just in case the battle here were to go bad, we don't want to have to waste Zach and Kimberly on going here and fighting if we need to reinitiate a fight here for some reason. But the 3 of them might be overkill. We're going to go ahead and take on Bones. With that said, we're going to now start a fight. Jason is going to initiate the battle here using up one of his other actions. So far from these 3 characters, 6 total actions, we have used up 4 of them. Now, with that said, Billy and Trini could also both, if they need to, initiate a battle afterward if any cleanup is needed. So this is how combat is going to roll. First thing we're going to do is go into Bones' deck and start putting out his cards. First card he's going to put down here is a regeneration for 7 health. He needs 3 more cards. We're going to go ahead and flip over another card. Skeleton Sword. It is a fast card, so it automatically goes to the front of his row here, as well as, since it is fast, it means Bones, as opposed to the Rangers, is going to go first. Usually a Ranger would go first in the turn order, but in this case it's going to be Bones because he's got the fast card. Unless you have some ability or some sort that allows you to go first automatically. Kimberly here has her quick shot. At the start of each battle, you may deal 1 damage to an enemy card of your choice if she is in that battle, of course. So she would have had to participate in that. She would have been able to shoot a card first. Let's go ahead and get more of his cards in here. Laser Eyes, fast. That automatically goes to the front of the battle. And then Bones' last card is going to be Skeletal Sword, which goes over there. So that's going to be Bones' deck there. The boss or the monster goes on the top. Next, we are going to fight the 1 Putty Patroller. Since we only have 1 Putty Patroller, we're going to take 1 card from him, and we are going to play it here. Now, with all that said, the other keywords that are on the monsters, again, fast means it's going to go fast, it's going to go first, and it's going to go at the beginning of the card row. The other thing we have on here is guard cards. These guard cards protect the cards adjacent to them. So in this case, Skeletal Sword, both of them are actually guarding Laser Eyes. You can't attack Laser Eyes without first going after Skeletal Sword. And then on this side, Regeneration is also protected by this Skeletal Sword. The other thing that it protects is the card below or above. So in this case, Skeletal Sword is also protecting Swarm Attack. So you wouldn't be able to handle Swarm Attack first to get the card taken down without, again, first taking on Skeletal Sword. So, as far as combat goes, Bones is going to go first. The Rangers are going to go between these cards in the combat order. When they go between the cards in the combat order, it doesn't matter which Ranger goes, as long as one of them goes, and the Rangers can pick which one they want to go. When they start battle, they can also determine if they want to draw back up to their hand limit, again, of 5. In this example, we've got Billy with 4 cards in his hand, Trini with 4 cards in her hand, and Jason started with 5 cards in his hand. So Trini and Billy can choose to get back up to 5 if they wanted to, or stay where they are. You don't necessarily want to always go to 5 cards in your hand, especially if you're low on cards in your deck, and you don't want to basically kill, because anytime a monster plays his card, like right here, deal 4 damage to the lead ranger. That's going to go to, in this case, Jason. So automatically, in this example, he's going to have to take some damage. So let's go ahead and see how that runs. I'm going to take Jason's deck right here. First thing we're going to do with the Skeletal Sword there is deal 4 damage to the lead ranger. So we're going to draw a card here. Jason draws 2 shields. Those cards are going to be discarded. Basically, what you're doing when you get the damage is you're comparing shields from the deck with the damage being dealt. If the damage is exceeding the shield count, you go to the next card until enough shields have been played to block the damage or take up on the damage. I'm going to go take my next card right here. Ooh, that's only one shield. Jason's not looking too good. And then, ooh, the fourth one right there. So basically, Jason lost 4 cards during that terrible deal right there from the Skeletal Sword. Next, it would be the Ranger's turn to go. So as we can see here, all cards in Jason's deck require an energy cost. The Tyranno Slash right here requires 1 energy at the indicated on the top left corner of the board. I have 1 energy in my personal pool right here, but also at the start of the game, which I probably forgot about here a second ago, you would take 2 energy and place it there at the beginning of the battle. That is for all the Rangers to use. This does not carry over into other battles, so you can't really bank it to go into another round. That energy though does. You can at the end of the round distribute it to Rangers if they don't have their 1 personal energy in their hand. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to play Jason's Tyranno Slash. I'm going to use up my energy token to do that, and then I'm going to roll 3 dice. And why not roll these 3 red dice that I have here? And we're going to go actually after Skeletal Sword, partially because of the fact that we need to get rid of some of these guard cards that are blocking these other cards from being attacked, especially the regeneration card that once the sequence gets to that one, says flip all bones cards in this battle face up, they are no longer defeated. In order for the monsters to be considered defeated, 4 of their cards have to be discarded or defeated. This one would allow them to not be defeated. The bosses have to have 6 cards defeated, so you can't even fight them and defeat them in one round of combat. You would actually have to initiate 2 combats with the boss in order to take them down. And since 1 card's already been played here, kind of going back and backtracking, we will flip this 90 degrees, partially why this board doesn't work very well for this, but there is that. So since we want to get to that regeneration prior to that card being used and being whatever, we're going to go after the Skeletal Sword right here. And that was a terrible roll for me, but we did 1 damage to bones right there. Now, with that said, you may reroll any number of dice from this attack, is what it says on the Tyranno Slash card. So we're going to take our other 2 dice, and we're going to only get 1 more hit with that one. So we use the damage counters to hit the card, and then after that, it would pass on to the next enemy card in the sequence. In this case, we've got Laser Eyes, deal 3 damage to 2 different Rangers. So in that case, what we're going to have done there is our girl Trini is going to take, I'm going to say 2 of that damage. I'm pretty sure that gets split, but we're going to go ahead and discard the cards for her, and she's going to take, I'm trying not to cheat here, she's going to take 2 of that damage, and she's going to say, why not? And then Zach over here is going to take the 3 damage right there. Since he met the requirement, he is basically done with that one. And just in case I'm interpreting this wrong, because I can't remember whether or not this is the 3 different ones, we are going to flip Trini's other card over, and it is her 3 shield card. So if each Ranger was taking 3 each, doesn't say 3 damage each, but if they were, with the fact that Trini's shields exceed the amount of damage, this card of hers right here would go back into the bottom of her deck. So now that card has been played, it would get flipped over 90 degrees to its side, and the Rangers would now get another turn. And you're going to continue with this until all the cards have resolved. So I kind of just went through the course of this fight with you guys, but I was able to take out the other card, take out these 2 cards, and place some damage on that. Now we actually have to go, once I resolved everything, to what's called the cleanup phase. So unfortunately in this example, I did not actually take out the monster, or I did not take out the minion. Terrible turn on my part. So I have nothing to place in this area right here. However, I am able to take the monster cards that I did defeat and place them in a discard pile, which unfortunately, because of room here, we're going to place it right next to the main draw pile, but those are indicating the 2 cards that we did defeat. Now I would have to start another battle here with Bones in order to um, try to defeat him and the one putty patroller. Um, but I didn't. So basically, what we're going to do is put the cards back in here and shuffle them up to be used in the next time that he gets fought, as well as we're going to take the putty patroller and we're also going to shuffle it back into his deck. And then combat starts like that again and again and again until you either defeat the monster in the zone or the minions or the boss. Now, the point of the game is to defeat the boss. So in this case, it is Rita who is going to be showing up, Rita Repulsa, and you are going to be defeating her. Once the boss is defeated, the Rangers win the game. Technically, you don't have to defeat the monsters or defeat all the putty patrollers, but to avoid all the panics, and to avoid just getting overwhelmed by the sheer amount of figures that come in. Because even though in this case, if there was one other additional figure, let's say in the industrial district, and it was panicked, you would have 2 panic locations. You only get 4 cards to fight at a time here. So even after you defeat the 4 cards here, if you do, you still would have another 2 characters to fight, and they would all, the zone would stay panicked during that time. So again, this is very can be very difficult to get through that. There's a lot of strategy that goes involved, as you can see, just me trying to play a practice game, trying to explain the rules of the game while also trying to field for 3 different characters at one time in a battle. Little mind numbing, but as you can tell, there is some strategy that goes into the game. What cards to play when. Even in Trini's deck, I forgot all about the reaction cards. You play this card after another Ranger resolves an attack to deal a damage to the target of that attack. Could have easily used that whenever Red Ranger did hit the boss during the turn, so I wouldn't have to use as many of his cards and to defeat the boss and defeat the cards that I did end up defeating. So as I said, as you go through here, you will spawn one other boss. In this case, like I said, my Bones figure right here that I have painted. And then as you continue, you will spawn another monster, which right here is my Pudgy Pig figure right there. And then finally, you will eventually get to spawning the boss figure, which right here is my Rita Repulsa figure right there, fully painted. So that, for the most part, is going to be Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. Again, I'm not going to go through a full playthrough of this and get all the Zords out or anything like that, because again, this is an overview, and I know that for me, there's a lot of stuff I'm going to be editing out of this, but we have been running pretty long as far as this overview. We haven't even gotten to the review yet, so let's get into the review. As a base game, I really do enjoy this game. Unfortunately for me, because of the IP, I don't get this on the table a lot. Don't get me wrong, I love the IP of this game. Power Rangers has been one of my favorite shows since I was a little kid, 10 years old when this show came out. For some reason, this show just hooked me. Not a lot of kids I knew at the time, even though the show was a monumental behemoth of a show for the country at the time that it came out. A lot of people I knew didn't watch it. Now, with that said, a bunch of 10-year-olds may not have admitted that they watched the show, even though they were probably all hooked on it. So there's always that going on. So, but anyway, as far as this game goes, I really do like it. As I said, the IP for me is a problem only because a lot of the people that I know as adults here in real life aren't really that big of fans of Power Rangers. So getting a Power Ranger board game out on the table sometimes can be a little bit difficult. With that said, it's also a co-op game. It's a fully co-op game. Some people do not enjoy co-op games, and the fact that you'll have some people who just want to win and beat the other opponents or another opponent, and get a little bit frustrated whenever you get defeated by the game itself. So there is that. But for me, I don't know why, I have been on a major, ever since buying and finding Castle Panic, I have been for a long time been on a major co-op kick. As you guys all know from watching the channel, I'm really big into Marvel United. Again, another co-op game. Castle Panic, another favorite game of mine. We have the Scooby-Doo board game down here. Again, a co-op game. So This co-op game, this is like my first big co-op game after Castle Panic. Um, Again, I really like the game. Just a little bit of trouble with the IP with getting people around it. If you also have people that you know that you don't think would be that don't you if you also know people that you know would not play a Power Ranger themed game, but may be into the game system in another way, Renegade Studios does consider this game called the Guardian system, and they've incorporated it into a new GI Joe game, which I believe it was on Kickstarter, but I believe they just announced all like the pre-orders and everything for it to get through their website. So that is another option if you want to get a game that is similar to this, to go ahead and go with that one. But as far as the things I do and I do not like about the game, pros and cons, if you will, major pro for me is how the deployment system works. I mentioned it earlier in the review, but just the innovation of having where one card speaks to the next card in the deck and whatnot, and how that goes and how everything kind of moves around with the game. Um, I like that a lot. The action economy, the action system, again, presented very simply, but there is a lot of strategy going into this. I would argue a lot more strategy in some cases than in something like Marvel United. Again, comparing it to a game that is familiar with people with the channel. Um, uh, but like I said, there is a lot of robust strategy going into this. There's also a lot more chance going into this, as again, comparing to Marvel United, you do have a little bit more uh, complexity with the cards themselves instead of just a few action symbols with only a couple cards having an ability. This game, you have every card has a different ability between the maneuvers, the reactions, and the actual attack cards. You also have the chance of basically your attacks failing. In the original example that I showed, my first roll was 3 dice with only one of them hitting. The dice add in um, an element of randomness to the game that can honestly make or break the game. In other games, other co-op games, you're playing more cards and you know exactly what the cards are going to do. With this one, the die is going to be a very big um, determiner of what the outcomes of the games are going to be. And not also forgetting, as I probably have in this, that you also have your special ability for each one of your rangers. Jason here, once per battle, a ranger of your choice may reroll any number of dice during attack. I could have done that at any point myself. Double strike for the yellow ranger. Once per battle, after you play a card, you may immediately play another card with the same name. So again, you have um, uh, the variety and whatnot with your different characters. The decks are going to be all different. These are all things I really do enjoy about the game. One major gripe I do have for the game, though, is the concept that you're going to have moments where the people in your party, especially if you're playing with the 5 player mode as opposed to like the 2 or 3 player mode, um, and even there is a 6 player mode if you do have expansion content, that has again different setup rules for it, but you need the expansion content for that. But when you are playing in a 5 player game, you do have you're going to have a lot of moments where somebody is not going to be participating. In the example over here of the Battle at Ernie's Juice Bar, the red, yellow, and blue ranger characters are the ones participating in the battle. The Black Ranger and the Pink Ranger didn't even move during this battle. They're not participating in the battle whatsoever. If they move over to Angel Grove Park and they engage those putties there, they're going to be the 2 people fighting in that area. And unfortunately, the other 3 players are not going to be playing. So you do have a lot of moments where not all the players are going to be participating, even though it's a co-op game. Not all the players are going to be participating at the same time. So you are going to have a lot of people just standing around, and in some cases being slightly bored, possibly during the game. Same thing, kind of like concept. If you're like playing like a role playing game, and you're having like a scene or a battle with, or a challenge with 1 or 2 other players. The other players on the boards aren't, other players at the table aren't going to be participating in that interaction. So it's kind of same thing as that, but that would be my one con, is that though, yes, you are playing cooperatively, there are going to be times where not everybody is participating in the current battle, in the current fight that you are having. Overall, what is my rating on this? Again, don't have an exact rating system. It's why we're using the 1 to 10 rocks, I guess. I would definitely give this game, on the base game on its own, I would definitely give it an 8 out of 10 shires. I don't know. RockShire. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I'm filming this at midnight at this point. So, yeah, I would give this game an 8 out of 10 just because of um, the more card variety. You are going to have and cycle through 4 different um, villains. You are going to have 2 in each game. So you're going to have a little bit of mix and match with that. The fact that you only have 1 boss to fight does slightly put that down from hitting like 8.5 range. Again, if you're buying expansion content or you got through the Kickstarter and you have the big Kickstarter box from that, you are going to have a lot more regular monsters to go through. You're going to have a few more extra bosses to go through. And then after that, any other expansion content that you have is going to have more game modes and other things that that the base game is not going to offer. Those things, again, as I said in another review, would bring this game up to that variety, would bring this game up to 8.5 into the 9-point range, just because you're going to have, even in the Kickstarter box, you're going to have extra bosses. In Rise of the Psycho Rangers, you're going to get that Nemesis mode going in there that does different things. The Cyclopsis pack and the Mega Goldar pack are going to have a larger version of Goldar and the Cyclopsis character, that instead of the 4 cards here that you're going to be fighting against, you actually are fighting against the parts of the character. So again, that gives a little bit more variety, a little more diversity into what you are doing and how the game is played to a point. And then you, as far as at this point, you have tons of different ally packs, villain packs, minion packs coming out. As of this recording, we're on March 5th as I'm recording this. Renegade did have their most recent pre-orders through their website for additional content for the game. There is rumors and teases of more content going to be announced soon. So this game has no shortage of content for you. Most likely, if your favorite team is not available in the game yet, a team in your top 5 is. If you have villains and minions and bosses that are in your top 10, that your favorite one's not there, someone from your top 10 probably is. Someone from your top 5 probably is. So there is a ton of content for this game. Again, with all that extra content in there, it can easily bring this up to a 9. But for the base game, we are going to go ahead and give this an 8. At this moment. So that is my review of Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, the base game from Renegade Games, designed by Jonathan Ying. If you have any feedback you'd like to give me about the review, if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, I'd like to hear about all of that down in the comments below. Like I said, it is midnight when I'm recording this, and I admittedly have not played this in longer than I would have liked to. It's been quite a while since I have played this with a full group. So I know there are probably rules and other things that I got wrong during this review. And I know I did not play that first round of combat very well whatsoever. But again, that's also card draws and whatnot. So like I said, comment below with your opinions on the game. Let me know if there's any other game that you see behind me that you would also like me to review, give my opinion on. I'm just looking at different ways to add a little more variety to what we bring here onto the channel. Please like and subscribe to this channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, do all those things. We are so close to 100 subscribers right now. So I would just like to be able to hit that number, and I just need your guys' help with that. So if you guys can do that for me, that'd be great. But in the meantime, that has been all for me. You guys have a great night, great day, whenever you're watching this, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.